Hello, and welcome to Tracy Mommy Reads. So, I'm back with another book review, but before I get started, let me pull it up here first of all on my Kindle. Before I get started, I just want to say one quick thing. I am going to be taking a break from reading psychological thrillers and suspense novels and books like that, simply for the fact that I just have not been satisfied here lately with a lot of the books that I've been reading. This was never my go-to genre. I just really started kind of getting into these type of books last year because I've just finished my sixth book, and it's kind of in that genre. It has some suspense elements. So I was doing a lot of reading initially as research and kind of got caught up with some of the earlier books that I was reading and really enjoyed them. But lately, it seems like there's this repeating formula. A lot of the endings have left me wanting more, and I'm just kind of over it for right now. So I'm going to be taking a break. But the book that I'm going to be reviewing today, it is a psychological thriller or suspense novel, and it is called The Marriage by K.L. Slater. The Marriage. Okay, so what sucked me into this? On the cover, 10 years ago, he killed my son. Today, I married him. When you put provocative things like that on your book, you're drawing people in because, as a reader, I want to know more. What? So, yeah, that kind of drew me into it, and the fact that it was 99 cents when I purchased it at the time. So the other thing, there is a line on here, I don't know if you guys can see it, but under The Marriage, it says, an absolutely jaw-dropping psychological thriller. Who said that? Was it the author? Did the publisher say it? Did somebody read it and say that? Because it wasn't. It just wasn't a jaw-dropping suspense thriller. Not in my opinion, anyway. And let me say something else. I know, you're not crazy. The Marriage, that title, I reviewed a book, not last week, but the week before last, called The Perfect Marriage. And I got a Scribbler box. It's like a subscription box for writers. And there was a book in there, and it was called The Perfect Marriage. There are so many books out in the marketplace with that title or with the variation of that title. So if you're an author and you're thinking about calling your book The Marriage, The Perfect Marriage, anything with the word marriage in it, you may want to think again, because the market is saturated with books called that. But anyway, my review today. So, it's not a spoiler because, on the cover she says that she alludes to the fact that her son was killed and she's marrying his killer. So that's exactly what happened. As the book opens, Bridget, who is the mother of the son who got killed, his name was Jesse, she's preparing for a wedding. And then we have a flashback to where this witness sees two young men, they're 18, and they're at a bar. They get thrown out of a bar and they're fighting. And at the end of the fight, one of them ends up dead, which ends up being Jesse, Bridget's son. Well, the interesting part, I guess, of it is that him and his best friend were fighting. They were fighting about something, and it got out of hand, and it was kind of accidental-ish, what happened. But Tom, the friend, he went to jail for 10 years. So when he's coming out of jail, he's 28, almost 29 years old. And Bridget, Jesse's mother, she's old enough to be Tom's mom. I can't remember how old she was, but she had at least 20 years on him. So there's that age difference and the fact that you killed my son. So Tom's mother, her name is Jill, her and Bridget had been friends back in the day because their boys were best friends. They had been so close. They met when they were little bitty boys. And she's just livid, number one, that Tom has married this woman because the family didn't even know. They got married while he was still in jail, and he got released, at the early part of the book. And she's just convinced that Bridget is up to no good because, when all of it first happened, Bridget was just so angry and so upset and just, pissed at Tom for taking her son's life. So she can't understand why 10 years later the situation hasn't changed. Like, how could you be in love with my son and want to marry him? And so as a reader, that's kind of the path like I'm taking. I'm like with Jill, like, what is Bridget up to? Because even her behavior initially like leads you to think, okay, she's up to no good. Something's going on. And to be honest, that would have been a better plot. Like if we were trying to figure out Bridget's motive, or if her motive had been revenge, and maybe she was like ticking off a list, and you know, like all these people she was gonna get back that hurt her son. But no, we're given several red herrings throughout the story, and they're interesting, and you're like, okay, well, what's going on with that? What's happening with that? But they all fall flat, or we don't really get enough character development or information. So you immediately are kind of like, it's almost like the author is saying, no, but it's this person. Just kidding, it's not her. You know, oh, it's this guy. Just kidding, it's not him. I mean, you know, it just left a lot to be desired in a lot of spaces. And when you do, like, I thought I had figured it out at one point, but the very next chapter I was like, oh, well, no, it wasn't that person, but it's definitely this person. And it ended up being that person. I was on chapter 36. Let me see how many chapters are in here. I was on chapter 36, and other than like all these like, oh, this person's over there in the corner laughing, or why would they say that? Nothing had really happened. Like there hadn't been any action or bodies piling up or anything that, you know, has you like biting your teeth and wanting to flip pages. The only reason I kept flipping the pages because I'm like, oh, what is this? What's happening? But then when you see what was actually happening, it was kind of like, really? That's it? Yeah, this book has, and all the chapters are pretty short. It has like 60 chapters. I don't know how many pages that equates to, because it's on Kindle, and like they have like location and percent of how, you know, far you are in the book. There's no page numbers on here actually, so I'm not sure how many page numbers, but yeah, it's just enough to keep you reading, you know, because you're just thinking like, when I'm turning a page, okay, well, after this chapter, okay, well, after this chapter, like something's going to happen. You know, it's just enough. But just overall, didn't find it all that satisfying, but kept reading because I was hoping for more. Had figured it out before it ended, and just wasn't pleased overall. I mean, she tied everything up neatly. Everything connected. Everything made sense. But a lot of times I think in those kind of books, is it all supposed to make sense or be so neat, you know? And the person that it ended up being, I mean, despite like being kind of like an asshole or whatever, like that person really wasn't villainous, or the person that you would think did this thing or was the whole reason behind what the story was really about, you know? And it wasn't about revenge. Like, how could it not be? Like, so maybe that's like some deep dark part of me. I wanted it to be about revenge, or there would be something else at work, and it turned out being a whole nother story. So anyway, like I said, for that reason, I am going to, you know, take a break from these type of books. And I'm sure I just haven't like read the right one in the last, you know, couple of months or whatever to really make me want to stay in the genre. But, you know, if you have any suggestions or recommendations for when I come off of my hiatus of psychological thriller books, you know, leave them in the comments. But until then, I'm going to be, I already have some books planned for the summer because it's summer vacation. My kids are out of school. I'm going to go back to reading. I have a couple of self-help books on my list, some contemporary fiction, some humor. So those are some of the books that I'll be reading, in addition to finishing up my novel that will be coming out later this year. I'll be talking more about that on the channel as well. So like I said, if you have some recommendations, or if you've read this book and you had a different take on it, you know, let me know in the comments. Make sure you like this video, and please subscribe to my channel so that you can be notified of when new videos come out and of upcoming news and information. Thanks, and have a great day.